Nuno and João are partners from the Walking Mentorship, and they bring the inside look in the life of the people they walk with. The podcast Keep Walking With Me searches for potential solutions towards the best version of ourselves. Every month, we walk together with a guest. There is a disclaimer that needs to be shared. After listening to this program, you might feel the urge to step outside and go for a long walk. But don't worry, that is absolutely normal. Welcome to the podcast Keep Walking With Me. Today we have another very special guest walking and talking with us. So let's start by asking, in a nutshell, who is Susana Coerver?
Hello, thank you for the invitation. I would like first to ask you, how long, as a nutshell, how long can I talk about myself in a nutshell? Because I have so many different stories that define me, that we could do just an entire podcast about my nutshell. So let's try to do it shortly. So this year, I realized that I used to define myself a lot by what I do. So I decided to create a new nutshell about who am I apart from what I do. So I'm from a modern family of mine, yours, and ours. So my father was American from Texas. He hated the United States. So he traveled all over, and his favorite place was Brazil. So he had 3 kids that he left in Brazil. Then he met my mother in Portugal. My mother used to live in Angola, and she had 3 boys that their father died when my older brother was 10. So she came from Angola to Portugal alone. She was a widow at 27. I was not yet a mother at 27, and she was already a widow with 3 kids. And she came by herself with 3 young boys from Angola. 10 years after I was born, she met my father here in Portugal. Then we went to Brazil, and she said, I hate living here. So she came back with 2 girls and the other 3 boys. So she was, or she is, a brave woman that raised 5 kids by herself. So she's one of my inspirations. Then my father, that he stayed in Brazil. He married again, so another wife from the Philippines. So I have 2 siblings that they were born in Brazil, and they are half American, half from the Philippines, and born in Brazil. So in a nutshell, a crazy story about my family. And then normally I say, because of that, I only had 1 boy, so that he didn't have to share his stuff with brothers and sisters. But it's not true. It's because it's just like that. Life happens, and then you realize, oh, I wanted to have more kids, but I didn't. But now I have my beloved partner that has a Vincent with 11 years old that I really love. So it's like I have 2 boys. So who am I? I am brave. I am creative. I am human. My friends normally say that I don't like to see anyone set apart. So I embrace and I bring people together. I am Magda. It will be strange for people that do not know the TV series called Sai de Baixo, which is a Brazilian comic series. And Magda is the crazy that is always doing wordplay. So I am that kind of person. I'm a crazy person in a room, always doing wordplay. I am flexible. I love change. From my life in Brazil, I brought this motto that says that I prefer to be a walking metamorphosis than having an old opinion about everything. So that means that I'm flexible to change my mind, to hear others, and I'm open to change. I'm a doer. I'm not just the creative that uh, becomes a dreamer. I do stuff. I am passionate about what I do, and again, um, something that comes from Brazil. Brazil really changed my life when I lived there in from 2011 to 13. That is Monica's Eyes. There's this comic cartoon called Turma da Mônica, where she has this big eyes. So um, I believe that passionate people have Monica's eyes, which means that when you see someone that is really passionate about what they do, their eyes glow, so they have Monica's eyes. So I believe that I have Monica's eyes when I'm doing what I love. And I'm chaotic. Well, I cannot only say good things about myself. I'm not the most organized person, but I'm organized within my chaos. And that's me.
Well,
Thank
thank you.
you. Very thorough nutshell, but also very creative and open. But connecting a little bit with this chaotic side of you, I heard somewhere that you don't like you're very careful about not doing too many plans because you don't want to miss out on the plans life has for you. Do you want to elaborate on that and share with us what you think?
Well, when I was 10, I believe that teachers have a very important role in our lives. And when I was 10, I had a teacher that said that I was very creative, and that was when I decided that I always wanted to have creativity in my life. But then I'm a lifelong learner, so I always like to learn and see and discover new stuff. So I decided I really love creativity and communication and arts. Art really inspires me. So I decided that I wanted to go into advertising. I fell in love with advertising. But then throughout my journey, while advertising in Portugal is really tough, clients don't pay agencies a lot. So we're always struggling with another pitch. We steal a lot of hours from our families, sometimes to projects that never come to life. So one day I gave up and I said, I don't want to work here. I want to work in a place where there's money to do stuff. And with a bigger scale. So I decided to move to Brazil, the only place in the world where agencies still have creative agencies, still have media inside. So there's a lot more money to produce stuff. And well, when I arrived there and I decided, and it was a big move. You know, sometimes you believe that you can only do things at a certain age, and then I decided to quit my job with a 3-year-old boy to move to another country. And when my son was 1 year old, I got divorced, but then we decided let's try again in another country apart from family and friends. So we moved to Brazil, and then suddenly you think that I'm going to work in Brazil. And then suddenly when I arrived, my father found out that he had cancer. Uh, and 1 month after, he died. So it's like suddenly I realized that you have your plans, but life has other plans for you. So life gave me the opportunity to be next by my father when he died. So I had a lot of opportunities to talk with him about things that we've never talked about, because he was out of my life when I was 5, and it was amazing to have that opportunity. It really changed me, because having someone that has a special place in your life dying, and you don't have your references there, you don't have your friends, you don't have your family. It's kind of a strange moment and feeling, and somehow strangers became my reference. The hugs that I had from strangers that were right next to my side when I got the telephone from my dad's wife saying that he died. I'll never forget the hug I received from someone that became a good friend. So then I realized that I discovered so many things throughout life, that sometimes life brings you to places that you never thought that you would go. When I came back from Brazil, because I got divorced, it didn't work out. I went to Porto as a marketing director of a fashion company. Um, and I never thought that I would go to the client side. Normally in agencies, we say it's the other side of the force. So I always thought that I wanted to be on the agency side, but then I was like, oh my God, I need to go back to Portugal, and agencies are closing, agencies are merging together. What am I going to do? My life was so great in on my professional side. I was doing really well in Brazil, and suddenly, because I got divorced, I had to move back to Portugal, and I said, what am I going to do? And suddenly I got this email from someone that I used to work saying, oh, I'm doing the headhunting process for a company. I don't know if you're thinking about coming back to Portugal, but I think that this is really you, this project. And I called her crying, saying, you don't believe. Yesterday, I decided that I have to move back to Portugal. I didn't know what am I going to do. And suddenly, I open up my laptop and I have this email from you. So life is really crazy. But and she said, well, but this is not in Lisbon. This is in Porto. And I said, well, Lisbon or Porto. Lisbon is quite different from São Paulo, Lisbon. So let's go for it. And of course, I went through a process of interviews. And then 3 months after, I flew away from São Paulo. I landed in Porto. And 15 days after, I started working in Parfois, the fashion company. So suddenly I realized that the best trip I've done was I did Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. And there I met a group of people, because I went all by myself. It was one of the challenges, because I really wanted to go to Asia, and my friends wanted to go to the US. And I don't know why I have this connection with Asia. I don't know why. And I wanted to go there. And suddenly, a few years after, I realized that I went to Asia to meet my landlord in Porto. So so it's the plans that life. I went to Asia to meet my lawyer, and suddenly it's the plans that life has for you. So I lived in Porto, and I loved living there. But then throughout my journey, I started loving the process about understanding from marketing. Of course, I need to understand, and from advertising, my number one as a planner, my number one role was to understand the consumer's mind, consumer's behavior, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. I already know what I want to be in my next life. I decided already. I want to be a neuroscientist, because I'm passionate about our brain, our black box that we have inside. So suddenly I started realizing that everything that I know from advertising and marketing was very useful in terms of HR, about people, about internal communication. And I started realizing that marketing could bring a lot into HR and into people management. And today, I believe that even more, because I believe that we are living in the workforce revolution. So that, for example, I believe that the creation of personas that we create in marketing for brands, we need to import that for HR teams, because we have totally different personas in a company. The one that wants to work remotely, the one that wants to work in the office, the one that wants to work in a later shift, in a earlier shift. So we have so many different people in a team, and we need to know them all, because what really brings loyalty to a company is feeling that we are seen and that we are heard. So learning everything that I've learned throughout my journey brought me a lot more closer to people management and HR and the human side of life. But this only happened because I'm open to change and open to see and hear new stuff. So if I was really rigid to stick to the plan, probably I wouldn't be so happy as I am today.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Suzanne. And actually, I think I already learned something for my next question. We also heard, so it just means that we heard a lot of things about you, that you don't want to be like Snoop Dogg, that, you know, he only thanks himself. So our question for you is, what are you most grateful for in your life? I think I can already add one name, your mother, for sure, but maybe you want to dig a bit deeper on that.
There's about my mother, there's an important moment in my life. One day I was going back and forth from Lisbon to Porto to bring my kids to Lisbon, and one day, of course, weekends with the dad or with the family were really short, and he was crying, saying, "Oh, I want to stay more." And I called my mom. It was really tough to do 300 kilometers to back to Porto with your son crying, saying, "Oh, I wanted to stay there." And one day I called my mom saying, "I'm not a superhero. I think I need to quit." And she said, I cannot give you a lot, but there's one thing that I can tell you. I was always giving up everything because of you five, and today I don't have anything. So please don't do the same. It's very important for your son, for you to follow your dreams. So that was a very important moment with my mom, and I told her that that was the most precious thing that she gave me, was that moment, because the day after I woke up and I said, "No, I'm a superwoman again. So I'll only move to Lisbon when I find something that really fulfills me," because I decided I need to go back to Lisbon, but first I need to find something that fulfills me. So first you put the mask on yourself and then only in others. So that was a very inspiring moment. But I'm grateful for my teacher in 5th grade. I'm grateful for many teachers that I have. I believe that teachers have a very important role in our lives, and I'm very sad to see what is happening in the relation that people have with teachers, how parents go to schools and point their fingers to teachers. Like suddenly I feel like, have you forgot that these are the guys that are spending the day with your kids, helping them to find what they want to do in life? They have such an important role So please don't forget. And I wrote a text about that saying, don't forget to start the beginning of the year being thankful to the people that are going to stay the whole day with your kids. Because for me, we need to embrace a lot more the people that are around us, and recover the sense of community, that we are part of a whole and not the fractions that we're seeing every day, men and women, teachers and parents, employees and employers. We're all a team. So we really need to work as a team. So I'm very grateful for my teachers. I'm very grateful because of the stories that I have from my mom, and also I come from a family of women. My grandmother I didn't meet my grandparents from my father in the US. So I lived with my grandmother, and she had 6 kids. Her husband died early. She had 6 kids. The 2 boys died early, so 4 women left. They all raised kids by themselves. So it's a family of women. But I'm very grateful. So of course I'm a feminist. I believe that we need to empower more women, embrace more women. So I work every day in a way that it's women supporting women, helping other women grow. It's part of my purpose in life. But I'm very grateful for all the men that made me grow, because I only had men as bosses, and they were the ones that enabled me to grow. They were the ones that believed in me. So I'm very grateful for them as well. I'm very grateful for my partner today. He's very supportive. He's really a partner. And I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my family. I say to my mother, the best thing you gave me in life was my brothers, my sister. I have a younger sister, this from same parents. Joanna, she's my #1 inspiration. She's 1 year younger, but I always say that she's the older sister, because I'm the crazy and she is the one that behaves a lot better than me. And she's a teacher. So she's the
Makes
teacher.
sense.
She's the teacher that we all want to have for our kids. And it's very funny also, because I have this theory that what we play as kids has something to do with what we'll do when we grow up. And we were very creative as kids. Our mom was very supportive in the creativity. We wore all her clothes and jewelry and everything. So I was the rich one. I was the one that was selling jewelry. My name was Louisa Montplier. I was French. I had 2 kids, and my sister took care of my kids because she was a teacher. So it's very funny. But also there's one thing that I recovered recently. I was the one that my sister and my friends and my cousin were sitting in the sofa, and I was the one presenting stories and creating stories for them. So it really relates with what I do today. So I really believe in this, that what we do and what we play as kids has a lot to do with our purpose and the place where we will belong in life.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very insightful and generous of you to share that with us. We are grateful also to you. And now I think it's time to invite you to share your first music with us. So what is the first one you would like to share? And if you want to tell us why.
First, I'll tell you the story, and then I'll tell you the music. So one day, of course, my mom had to struggle a lot with what she could afford us to do. And I always said that I wanted to do ballet, but I wasn't, I couldn't do it as a kid. It wasn't affordable. So I always danced in front of the TV in the second channel where there was classical music. And I was dancing like if I was a ballerina. And the second thing that I said is if I had learned an instrument, it would be piano, because I love piano. And one day when I was in Porto with my son, oh no, suddenly I forgot the name of the guy that I really wanted, a pianist, the famous pianist that he was playing in Casa da Música.
Mhm.
And I said, I really want to go there, but it was a Monday and I was with my kids. He was 6. I said, well, I don't care. I'll bring him with me. It wasn't very, probably people were thinking, what a bad mom. It's a Monday at 9:30 p.m. and she's with her son here. He should be sleeping. Of course, the only kids in Casa da Música, Tim Vendors.
Mhm.
And he never clapped in the circus or in the theater. But that day, he was clapping in every music that he was hearing, and people were like, wow. Of course, he was the only kid, and it was amazing to see how
Mhm.
he reacted. And I had this this friend that took him to school, Joanna. Um, and one day she called me saying she was coming from school, and she texted me saying, you know, Susana, I have the contact of the piano teacher. And I said, piano teacher? And she said, yes. Didn't you want a contact of a piano teacher? And I said, no, I never talked about that. Oh, Sebastian told me that if I knew someone that would give piano lessons. So I have, and I was like, wow, my son, my 6-year-old boy, managed to find a piano teacher. He never talked about that with me. And I was like so happy that my son decided by himself when he was 6, and he found a solution for that, that he wanted to play the piano. So he started having classes, but it was right before, probably he wasn't 6, he was 8, right before we moved to Lisbon. And of course, prices of piano lessons are quite different in Lisbon than in
Mhm.
Porto. And the challenge to take him to a piano lesson was a lot greater than it was in Porto. Porto is very comfortable for living because it's smaller, so everything is at your hand. So he didn't have piano lessons, and one day in 2019 I bought an apartment, the first time that I decided to buy, because I always wanted to be free. And I realized, or I found that we needed some roots, so I bought an apartment. And the guy in the apartment offered me the piano that he had, and I was like, and the piano was there. And then we moved last year to a new apartment, and Sebastian never used the piano. And one day we had a friend here that he was playing. He asked to stay at our place because a friend of mine says that, oh, your house is like a mother's heart. There's always place for someone else. So I love having friends staying. And then Pedro came here for a week. And of course I was working, and he was here with my son, and he was playing, and suddenly he got interested again in the piano. So he started by himself learning with the phone in the piano and starting to learn. So 1 month ago, I was in Amsterdam, and he called me saying, "Oh, I want you to listen to this music." And it was a very emotional moment for me. Of course, Sebastian always teases me because he say, "Ah, you're crying again, right?" And I say, "Yeah." um, because he called me and he started playing Clair de Lune from Debussy, which was the music that I used to play for my son when he was a baby. So that is my first music.
All right.
That's a lovely
So,
story. Really nice.
listen to Debussy then. Well, Susana, thank you very much, not only for the music, but the story that you share with us, which actually make the music even more special. I would like to talk a little bit about your most recent project. So you just started Kindology, a platform that brings mental health care to those who can't afford it. So our curiosity is, what drove you to drop everything for this? What make you went this way?
No, now I say that I took a bit after I started the project of Kindology, a bit after, I decided to take this transformation sabbatical leave to think about. And I was telling my friends, I feel like I went to college again, to university, because I wanted, knowing everything that I know, I wanted to decide what I want to be when I grow up. So it's my second turn, my second chance of deciding what I want to do when I grow up. And I wake up every day believing that I can change the world. And that happens every day. I really do believe that I can do that, starting from changing myself. So I always believe that the change starts within. So I believe that 17 years ago, it's when I started doing therapy for the first time. 17, yeah. And one day when I was in an agency, we got this project about a company, a ONG, called Encontrarse from Porto. And there was this amazing woman called Flipa, and I started doing pro bono projects for that ONG. And their mission about this project is to fight the stigma around mental health. So we did amazing projects, very brave and very unique and very creative projects around mental health. By that time, I believe they were the only ones talking about mental health. And this went through the years. I had many amazing stories with this company and with Flipa. I was presenting last week. I got a message from her saying, remember, in the 10th of October in 2007, I was 8 months pregnant, pushing the play button of her project in Porto. And it was a very special moment that I'll never forget. And Felipe has a very important role in my life. So we did this project, and one of the amazing moments was there was this couple that they were getting married, and they decided that the gifts that the guests would give was all money for Encontrarse, for everything that they wanted was to give money to support the cause. And that was very inspiring, saying, wow, what we're doing is really great. And then when I moved to Brazil, I found out that in the same planet, there's a country where there's a lot less stigma around mental health, because I was managing teams in advertising agency, and my team was saying, Sue, I'm going to my therapist in the same way that they were saying, I'm going to the gym. So it was the mental therapists and the physical therapists. So it was the same. And it was very normal. And I said, how come in the same planets people treat mental health in such a different way? So this was very insightful. And I said, I want to do this in in Portugal. But then I moved to Porto. I was working in a fashion company. So somehow I worked in a fashion company. I was changing the topic around women. But when I came back to Lisbon again as a CEO of an agency, one day we were in a pitch. My son just arrived home. And we were in a pitch, and there was this company that said, well, we want a campaign, but also we want a platform where we could do something for the society. And of course, when we came out of the meeting, of the briefing from the client, my team said, yeah, we know mental health. And I said, yes. So the platform that we would present to that company would be around mental health. So we drew a whole process on mental health. And the name of the project was We Need to Talk. Because normally when people say, we need to talk, oh, he's breaking up with me, or I'm going to get fired. But no, we need to talk about mental health. When we presented the project, they said it's the most amazing project that we got, but we cannot talk about mental health. And I was like, yeah, there's the stigma again. So let's recycle the idea. And we decided, let's try and sell this project to a company that is already ready to buy this kind of project. So we presented the project, and in one of the moments, I say 1 in 5 is suffering from a mental health problem. Probably someone in this room, and suddenly someone from the client side started crying. And I said, yeah, this is what happens when we start being comfortable and talking about mental health. So 1 month after, they came back with the feedback, and they said, yeah, we really love the project. It's amazing. But, we want to call it well-being instead of mental health. And I said, no, you cannot do it, because it's our project, and this project is for mental health. If you call it well-being, it's still maintaining the stigma that there is around mental health. So, or you call it mental health, or you cannot do it. So it was like this. The day after, I said, oh, I'm sorry, maybe I was a bit rude in the way I behaved in the meeting, but this is very important for me to fight the stigma around mental health. So I really don't want this project to be called something else apart from mental health. So in the end, they did it, and I'm very proud to see that. Last week, probably, I was on LinkedIn and I saw people sharing the project saying we need to talk, and I saw pictures of the event, and I feel really proud when I see that happening, because I was there. It's my project. So, and then one day I was in a meeting, and I was in a company, and then there was this agency presenting me a project, and they said, yeah, today we have our planner here that is going to present you the ideas. But first, he wants to introduce himself. So it was João introduced himself saying, one day I saw you. I'm 45, he's 35. One day I saw you, and because of you, I decided what I want to do when I grow up. And I was like, wow, thank you. That is I'm very grateful for that. And then I left the company. I left his company as well. And one day he started trying to contact me. And I have a lot of people asking for mentorship, because I do mentoring since 15 years. I started doing mentoring normally to women. And I said, yeah, no, probably he's another one needing mentoring, but I'm not in a very good moment I'm not good for myself, so I'm not good for others. So I was trying to run away from João, but he's very, he doesn't give up. And I was like, yeah, so deserves an opportunity. So let's hear what he wants to say. And then he was saying, I have something here to present you, because me and my wife, we have this idea of a project. Joanna, she's a therapist, she's a psychologist. And one day she created an Instagram page called A Letter for Santa. But she wrote in the bio saying that behind those letters was a therapist. So she got 900 letters, most of all from adults talking about their problems. And she wrote back to all the 900 people that sent letters. And she said, we really need to do something, because mental health or mental diseases are very democratic, but the access to mental health treatments are not. So we need to do something. So they were designing this project. And João said, we decided that we need someone else in the project, maybe to mediate the relation between a couple. No, I'm just kidding. And when I wake up, I always think about you. And he was in another city presenting me that on a Teams meeting. And I was like, with a big smile. He couldn't see me because he was presenting on Teams. And when he stopped doing the presentation, he said, well, I believe that this is a long shot to invite you for the project. Probably you won't accept, but we would really like you to join us in our project. And I said, yes. And he said, what? And I said, yes. And he said, how come yes? And I said, yes, you invited me and I'm saying yes. And I said, do you know, João, that I present projects around mental health since 16 years? And he said, no, I had no idea about that. So remember when we were talking about the plans that life has for you, suddenly things start to pull together. And I was really amazed with the universe, and I said, wow, this is really amazing. So we started doing our 3 guys in a garage meetings, thinking and designing Kindology to what it is today. So it is a project really based on the idea that not everyone, unfortunately, has the access to mental health treatment. So it's like the Robin Hood project. So we that are the fortunate ones that can afford to pay a therapy session, we will help to pay the therapy of people that cannot afford. So it's like, for me, it's a very beautiful moment when I think that when I'm putting the mask on myself, I'm also putting the mask on someone else. So it's a very kind moment when I start therapy, someone else is starting at the same time. So today we have 30 therapists, but we also have, for every 5 paid sessions, that they are also very affordable comparing to some others. But for every 5 paid sessions, we give 1 for free. But also we have this other mission to unblock conversations around mental health. So we have a roadmap of products, a merchandising line that started with sweatshirts and t-shirts. So for every 2 sweatshirts that we sell, we give 1 therapy session. But of course, we're still a startup. We're putting our money together in the project. But we really believe in it. But we have a roadmap of a lot other projects or products that unblock conversations between parents and kids, between couples, between teachers and students, and also because we need to talk about emotions in schools a lot more than we do, and also between teams in companies. So we have already that roadmap, and once we have the money, we will start doing it. But we already have the vision. When we close our eyes, we see the projects and the products in real life. So this is Kindology, and of course we decided that we needed to go to companies, because to give appointments we need scale, and if companies buy the therapy sessions from Kindology, we will have a bigger scale. But unfortunately, well, the project is amazing. Every day we have people volunteering to help us. We even have therapists. We don't have therapists working for free or giving free appointments, because we said we want to be sustainable. And being sustainable means that we're not giving sessions for free by asking therapists to give sessions for free. But we have also therapists that are not working for us saying, oh, we want to give you free appointments because we want to help the cause. And it's amazing what we see every day, the generosity, and of course also the concepts around Kindology. We believe that one day we will have people saying, oh, what is your purpose, or what is your religion? I'm a kindologist.
Well,
Yeah.
we can only vouch for Felipe Palha and Encontrar-se. I mean, we are very proud partners with Encontrar-se as well, already for a few years, and I think it's very important to see more and more projects exactly like Kindology appearing and doing two things. One is to talk about it, as you shared with us. I really loved what you said, that mental health, it's very democratic, indeed. It can touch everyone, and if we are aware of it, it just makes everything easier. And then from another side is to make it more accessible. And here I can only agree with you that the corporate world has definitely a word to say and an action to do, because most of the people spend most of their lives inside organizations. That's where people spend most of their hours. And to be fair, quite often, much of the stress that people have that quite often trigger certain situations, we know where these things come from. So there's really kind of a trade-off, but thank you, Susana.
And it's also today I'm part of Felipe's new project. I'm part of the executive committee of a project that has the mission to change not only the world but the laws here in Portugal. So her new project, or our new project, is a more institutional project that has the mission to change, for example, the leaves that you have when you're having a mental health problem. I had a mental health problem, and working was really helpful for me. So not staying at home thinking, because I really do think a lot. I think it would have been devastating for me to stay at home overthinking. So work really helped me to set those demons apart from my head. So changing the laws. Imagine that. I wish that companies would have, just like when you join a company, companies have onboardings. I would love that companies would have onboardings for someone that comes from a mental health leave, or companies that would have onboardings for people that come from a parent leave, mothers coming back to work after having kids. It's a very stressful moment. Oh, I'm going to leave my 4 months baby at home or in kindergarten or whatever, or with someone else. And and dealing with all those emotions, companies should have onboardings for that. And with this project, together with FLIPA, we're trying to change the laws of leaves that you can come gradually back to work, or that the doctors that you have in companies have some kind of training on mental health, because today they don't have. So that's it. Also maintaining Felipa in my life.
Definitely worth it. Also a very inspiring person. But I guess it's time to invite you to share your second song in this podcast.
So my second song is a song that I'm very different persons. I'm not just one kind of person. I'm very eclectic in the kinds of music. I believe the only kind of music that I normally say that I don't like is reggae. But all the rest, I believe I like, so I could share totally different kinds of music. But I have a playlist in my Spotify that is called Peace. There are musics that bring me peace, and this music is a music that brings me peace, but also beauty. I like beautiful things. They bring me music. The music brings me beauty because it comes. I like Devendra, and the music is from Devendra Barnhart. But this specific music, one day there's this website called Nowness, where when I want to get inspired, normally I know that I will see very beautiful and creative and insightful pieces of art in Nowness. And actually this music was in a campaign, a very beautifully shot campaign, where Devendra is a character in that campaign for a brand called Oliver People, and that music is called Brindo, and I really love it. And it's a music that brings me peace, but also, and I challenge you all to see the video. When I grow up, I want to have that house. And that is my second music.
Let's listen and watch the video.
Brindo este amor, un amor tan raro. Brindo este amor, un amor tan claro. Brindo este amor, un amor tan de repente. Brindo este amor, un amor tan diferente. Como la oncita en el mar, un elemento nuevo para jugar. Brindo este amor que me llena de esperanza, y brindo a esa luz allá en la distancia. Reina colibrí, despierta a la diosa, que canta a ti y a mí su canción preciosa. Brindo a todo lo que quiero dar, a todo que está a punto de empezar. Brindo este amor que nunca se demora. Solo el hospital está abierto a esta hora. No pienso en ti, solo te siento pasando por mí como un dulce viento. No pienso en ti, solo te siento pasando por mí como un dulce viento.
Well, thank you so much, Susana. It's really a beautiful, beautiful video and beautiful music also, and very inspiring to connect with something you mentioned before. You mentioned, and I don't want to misquote you, but something like, I'd rather be a walking metamorphosis than having an old opinion about everything. Can you explain? Because this is a very interesting statement. I think it can have a lot of interpretations, but we would love to hear your own interpretation.
I believe that is all about being open to others. I have very strong opinions about everything, but I really love when people make me change my mind. And I always say that to teams. I love when you challenge me and when you make me change my mind. And for example, that happened to me when I was in Parfois, for example, because I had 3 months after I joined the company, I had an idea of an app where you could see with augmented reality, you could see all our products like earrings and sunglasses and watches. Wearing them, you could try them online through an app. And I was very enthusiastic about that project. And because I came from the agency side, I really don't like to put agencies working for free. So I just asked for quotations about that app. But suddenly there was this guy, Luis, from an amazing company that I met in Porto, that said 3 days after he came up with a demo, and he said, we got so excited with the idea that we did a demo of your idea. And I was so excited to see the demo that I started touring around the company, sharing the idea with others. So I went to HR team, I went to product team, and then I went to the merchandising team. And then Ricardo from the merchandising team said, yes, then I believe it's a great idea, but have you thought that you will need to do 3Ds of all the products that we have? We have 3,500 SKUs. And I was like, oh my God, I never thought about that. And then Mariana from my team said, yeah, Susan, I believe that is amazing. But you know, our newsletter is done in words. And that was the day, 3 months after I joined the company, was my day one. It was when I really realized the company where I was. And I said, I called Luis saying, I'm sorry, we cannot do this project because first things first. First, we need to improve the basics. But then they all made me change my mind. So it's hearing others and being available to change. When I was 25, I was number 2 in my first agency. I was a director, and normally people get promoted because they're very good in what they do. It's not because they're very good as leaders. And the day I decided that I wanted to leave that agency because I wanted to move to a bigger agency and work with FMCG and with bigger brands, I decided to ask my team, and I really thought that I'm a rock star. And then I decided to ask my team their opinion about me, and the rock star fell from the horse because they told me, you're very good in what you do, but when you come to talk to us, you always have your pen in your hands because you know that you are going to redo what we do. And I died a little bit that day because I said, they're right. I think that I do better, and I don't take the time to make them understand or learn why it should be different. So from that day, no pen, hands in the back, and I decided I need to learn how to give feedback. And I need to learn about different perspectives. I need to learn that there's not just one way to do things. And for me, that is the walking metamorphosis, is when you understand that there are different ways of thinking. And for example, today, I do an exercise that I call the empathy exercise. Because I came from that family of women, everything that hurts women somehow really affects me, and it gets my nerves. So I'm really, when I see a campaign that treats women in a certain way, I'm really an activist against that campaign. And one day this year, and I do this sometimes, this year I saw a campaign that I really hated, and it really got my nerves. And I decided, oh, you need to do the empathy exercise. So I came back and I shared the ads on TV. And I said, Ricardo, can you please share your opinion about this TV commercial, about this concept? And he said, yeah, it's not very good, the production. I don't like the characters. It's very bad acting. What else? He said, just that. I said, really? He's not seeing that it's offensive to women? But I didn't say that because I didn't want to be judgmental. So I sent it to my girlfriends, one of my WhatsApp group, and I asked them, so I want to share this commercial with you, and I want to hear your opinion. And from 6 friends, there was only one that had a similar opinion from myself, and all the others had different opinions. And I said, yeah, this is very important to do this, because a perspective is just a point of view from where you're standing. And from where I stand is a life that is totally different from another person that is right next to me. So we don't see the world the same way. And we need to respect that, because we are coming from totally different paths, totally different families, totally different environments. And that is what makes us great, as well as a community. Our differences is what makes us great, but we need to open ourselves to understand that there's not your opinion is not the most valid. And for me, this is what it means. So today, and it also has to do a lot, this quote has a lot to do about self-development, because today I'm a totally different person than I was when I was 25. Of course, there are many things that remain the same, but I know myself a lot better than I knew. I know why I get angry when I see these campaigns, and by that time I didn't know. So that's it. That is my point of view about this quote. That actually this quote is from a song, a Brazilian song from Raul Seixas.
Well, but maybe on the note of walking, I would like to ask you if you do have a favorite route, maybe for walking or hiking, and if you had to choose one, we would love to know which one and why. Can be anything.
I could say walking to the fridge.
That's a new one.
Find something sweet. But no, starting to surf with my son was a really life-changing moment, because it's a moment. I have this presentation I did yesterday, that is fear kills creativity, ideas, dreams, and companies. And it's very magical when you fight your fears. So I'm still afraid of the sea. But one day I decided to fight my fear, or like a friend of mine likes to say, I invited fear to dance with me in the water. So I decided to start surfing, and when I faced that fear, I realized that I found my magical place, my magical spot. So it's the place where I feel peace, mindful. So my favorite walk is to the beach. So I really envied you guys when you did the walking mentorship through Costa Vicentina, because I really love, it's one of my favorite places. I really love going there. I love those beaches. I love everything there. But I would say that definitely when I close my eyes and I imagine my house of Brindo, a Folly for People commercial, I imagine that house is really next to the beach, and I wake up and I walk and I put my feet on the cold sand in the morning to go surfing. So that is my dream and real walking favorite place.
Well, and maybe on that note, Susana, you can help us keep dreaming and maybe give us your third song.
So my third song, now for something completely different. So now it's time to dance. And I love dancing. And sometimes, when you're a bit down, and no, now I need to cheer it up. I normally put dance music. And this is a music actually that I found out with my son. And yesterday I was talking about this podcast and about the musics that I chose. And then I said, the first one I was telling Sebastian, and he said, "Oh, I know the music that makes you cry." Because I played it in the piano. But then the last one I said, well, the last one is dance music. And he said, yeah, I know, Marea. So it's a music that I normally like to put to cheer myself up. And I found out that I put that music quite often while I'm cooking. So I'm cooking and dancing at the same time. So it's a music that really makes me. I could choose a lot of musics that I like to put when I need to cheer up and just to exercise and dance a little bit. But this is the last one, the one that I hear in repeats.
So I guess we already got a good snippet for our podcast is music for cooking. Well, then let's listen to Maria.
We've lost dancing. This year we've had to lose our space. We've lost dancing. All these things that we took for granted. We've lost dancing. This year we've had to lose our space. We've lost dancing. We've lost the hugs with friends and people that we loved. All these things that we took for granted. We've lost dancing. We've lost dancing. If I can live through, we've lost dancing. This next 6 months, we've lost dancing. Day by day, we've lost dancing. If I can live through this, we've lost dancing. What comes next will be marvelous. What comes next will be marvelous.
A totally different music, really, to cheer us up and get us full of energy. And picking up on that energy, we have now our series of unfair questions or curved balls. So don't worry, it's whatever you answer, it will be perfect for sure. But the first one is just this: imagine you can embark on any adventure, literally any adventure today. No restraints whatsoever, no limitations, no commitments. You could just take off. What would that adventure be?
I would fly to Asia, and I really need to go to Bali. There are some friends of mine when I was living in Brazil, that they were working in advertising here in Portugal, and they wrote me saying, "Oh, we want to move from Portugal. We want to go there," and their intention was to open a business. And I said, if you want to work in advertising, come here because we're really well paid here. But if you want to open your business, there are probably 200 best countries to open a company apart from Brazil. And they went to Asia, and they went to Thailand. And one day I decided to do a yoga retreat, and I called her because she became a yoga instructor. And I called her saying, "Oh, I want to go to a place where I disconnect." And she presented me a place called the Sanctuary. So I went there, and now they moved to, when they went there, they only had one kid, and now they have four. So they're really happy there. And I was so happy when I saw them in a scooter, in their barefoot. I love barefooting. And they were in a scooter in a barefoot with a dog and like the whole family in a scooter. And I said, this is it's a free life. And I imagine that I could be really free. And I decided I want to go and meet them in Bali because I have never been to Bali, and now they moved to Bali. And the other day I was looking at an exercise that my son did at school, and it was it was from his Portuguese teacher, and she did like some questions, and one of the questions was this: if you could choose a place to live, where would it be? And my son wrote Bali, and I said, wow, it's the same as your mom. So we would definitely fly to Bali now.
All right. Susana, what is your number one goal in life?
To change the world into a better place, to change myself to be better today than I was yesterday, and tomorrow better than I am today, and to impact people, for them to be better.
Sounds perfect.
So now I guess it's my turn to do the last question in our podcast. It's I must say it's my favorite question. I don't like so much the question. I love the answers. So not setting the expectations too high, but we have high expectations from you. So imagine that you have a time capsule, that you have like a bottle where you can send a message or send whatever you want to put in there, and you're going to send it out into the universe. And sometime in the future, maybe tomorrow or maybe in a million years, someone or some entity will find it. What would you like to put inside your time capsule, your message to the future?
It would be a concept that a kind of concept that I found out when I was marketing vice president in a company in the Philippines. It would be Kapwa Tao, just that. And Capotao means, when I went to that company, my mission was to have an overview in the assets of the company, in the communication. And the first thing when I join a company is to hear people, to understand, because we need to say things that are truthful about ourselves, because otherwise people will find out that we're lying. And I did some interviews to the team. And I realized that the first thing I needed to do in the company was to change the company's values, because they were very shallow and they could be the values of any company, which is something that we see a lot. Values that could be, you just post it in another company and it's exactly the same values. And I said, we need to change this, because I found out something really, really, really amazing about this company, is that when I was interviewing people, I heard quite often, here I can bring my whole self to work. And I said, wow, this is amazing. They can be themselves at work. We can be ourselves. We bring ourselves, our whole, the way we dress, the way we behave. We bring our talents to work. The vice president of IT in the company used to be a trans DJ. And he had in Google, because we worked in Google environment, he had his own room for putting music. So the company brought his whole self to work. He was a DJ and we added musics to the playlists. And I said, we really need to tell this about ourselves to the world. And I was saying, this company is really amazing. It seems like a Noah's Ark. And I really believe that we need to say this. And they said, yeah, we really love the concept of Noah's Ark, but it's somehow close to religion. And though we're the most Catholic country in Asia, we don't want to bring religion. And I was like, what can I do? How can I change this to something meaningful about the company? How can I say this in other words? So I started doing some research, and I found this concept called Capotao that really reflects what I wanted to say about the company. So one day at Fridays, we had the board meetings, and I was really excited. I was here in Lisbon, waking up at 6 a.m. so that I could have the meeting with them in the Philippines. And they were like, oh, you're really excited for a 6 a.m. meeting. And I said, yeah, I have something that I found out, but I really need your help. I found this concept that I believe that is the number one value, and everything gravitates around this value. And this value is called Capotao. And they said, wow, it's amazing, because it's exactly that. It's Capotao. And it's something that works internally, but also externally. And now explaining what Capotao means. Capotao means I see you, I hear you, I understand you. I know that we're different, but I respect you, because there's something bigger and greater that unites us, that is the sense of community. So that would be my quote in the bottle.
Perfect answer. See, not high expectations. You managed to overcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susana. What a great pleasure to talk and walk with you. And we can only wish that Kindology is just the very beginning of a wonderful journey.
Thank you very much.
Keep Walking With Me, it is a podcast inspired by the walking mentorship experience. Step by step, we walk together towards the best version of ourselves. For more information about our mentoring programs, visit our website walkingmentorship.com.